Hey, what's up, you guys? So let's talk a little bit about COPPA. It seems everybody and their brother is doing a COPPA video right now. So I'm doing my obligatory COPPA video. Gonna talk a little bit about my thoughts on the whole situation and then kind of let you guys know what I'm thinking I'm planning on doing. And I say thinking because I'm still not entirely certain what I'm gonna do. So for those of you that are not familiar, which I kind of find it hard to believe at this point since I'm so late that you don't know what COPPA is, but essentially COPPA is an FTC, Federal Trade Commission regulation that was originally done in like 1998, and it's been updated. And now the FTC recently, I think it was in September, they actually fined YouTube, I think it was $170 million, which to you and me probably sounds like a butt ton of money. To YouTube, last I heard, it's like 2 days worth of profits, maybe revenue, I don't know. So it's not a huge fine for YouTube, but obviously YouTube wants to prevent themselves from getting hit again, because if they get hit again, my guess is the FTC said, you're getting nailed hard. So essentially, what they got hit for is collecting data from minors. Now, what is that data? We don't know exactly what that data is. It's likely the watching. It's usually the information that they're tracking to be able to create those ads that are personalized ads as opposed to contextual ads. And the personalized ads is what the majority of people that are making money on YouTube, those are the ads that we're making the higher dollars. And when I say higher dollars, I'm saying higher pennies. Because for me, at least, I don't make much. I don't get a check in the mail typically more often than 2 or 3 times a year. Not even 3 times, it's 2 times. So I'm not making much, but there are some YouTubers that are making big money. And all of this COPPA stuff is gonna make a huge difference in their bottom dollar. And in some cases, based off of the threats that we've been hearing from the FTC directly, is the FTC is no longer going to come after YouTube because YouTube put in place these new measures on their platform. My cord is falling. They put in these new measures so that content creators now need to classify their intended audience for every single one of their videos, which would be fine. I don't really have that big of an issue with having to, kind of identify who my content is for. Where the issue is the terminology from the actual FTC in the COPPA terminology kind of defines it very, very vaguely as to whether or not your content is directed towards kids, intended for kids, kid-friendly, kid-centric, or just of interest to kids. Nobody really knows. And so supposedly right now is a comment time period between now and when January 1st, the FTC says that they're actually going to start cracking down. So there is a link I'll leave in the description below where you can leave a comment on the FTC's website on the actual COPPA page. And I've read through all of that COPPA stuff. And I have to say, YouTube is kind of being a little bit shameful here in the sense that they've protected themselves. Somehow they have negotiated with the FTC, with the government, that they're no longer liable for the data collection on their platform because they've implemented this tagging scheme where the content creators now are turning on or off the contextualized versus personalized ads. And where I have a huge problem with this is the fact that we have no disclosure as to what information is being tracked, what is being collected and what is actually being done with that data and what actions are being taken. The essential aspect of what we have is we can see our basic demographics, which obviously does not include those accounts that aren't logged in. Any accounts that aren't logged in, who knows how old they are. But the demographics that we see may not match what is actually happening because who knows what's going on. And because we have zero information as to what's being collected, through the documentation in COPPA, they're using this identifier as calling us essentially an operator. We as content creators are operators when we check that box to determine what our audience is. That makes us an operator because now we're making a conscious decision to say this is either for kids or not for kids, and either restrict or don't restrict. And so by making that decision, that supposedly makes us culpable for whatever YouTube then does on the back end. Now, this would be one thing. It would be different if, let's say, I was an employee of YouTube and I had access to that information. I was being directed. But essentially, we're kind of like independent contractors almost, but not even really that. It's even closer to like a Lyft sort of, or a ride-sharing sort of program, in my opinion. But that means that we're now culpable for the actions of the platform, which makes no sense to me. That makes zero sense to me. And what makes even less sense to me is that the FTC would let YouTube freaking off the hook for future. Now, they may still come after YouTube. We don't know. But the threats that we're getting from the FTC, and maybe these threats are more heavy-handed sounding so that they can get the point across to some specific channels that they have in mind. I'm guessing they have some specific ones that they already know they're going to hit. But we don't know. Are they going to crack down heavy? I mean, they literally said they have tools to monitor the 23 million some channels on YouTube. Now, they may not actually, that may be a bluff but in the end, all that is they just need software that can read and consume the information. What are they going to be consuming? They're probably going to consume our descriptions, our titles, all of the closed captioning, transcripts, to be able to see what information, the tags, everything that's public that we could access through the interface are likely accessible through different APIs, and who knows if YouTube has provided some backdoor method directly into their system. I can't imagine that they have, except for the fact that YouTube is so intent on getting into other countries that are far more restrictive than the US when it comes to speech, that who knows what YouTube is doing. So YouTube is putting us in the front lines with the FTC. Why? Obviously, it's to protect themselves. It's to protect their bottom dollar because they don't want to get fined again. And that would be totally fine, except for the fact that everything is so vague. Who knows how they're going to actually identify and determine kid-centric? So going to my channel, what am I going to do? Well, I've got action figure reviews. I've got some toy hunts. I don't do those near as often anymore. But with the terminology, they basically are saying anything that is toy related or characters that might be of interest to kids, bing, bang, those are two strikes right there. So what do? Do I mark that as for kids? Well, I'm personally fairly clean in all of my videos. I don't swear, I don't have risque content or anything like that. So I could count it as, for kids. And what'll happen is most likely, if it's put into restricted mode, there won't be comments. There won't be, the notifications won't matter. They're not going to notify. They're not going to put any of your content into recommended. Essentially, you're going to be uploading your videos and no one's going to know. So what's the point? That's assuming that's what's going to happen. Now, if YouTube were to listen to us, they might come up with some different methods. Like what is turning comments off going to do? How does that protect blanketly all these kids who, if they're under 13, that's the stipulation, this is the crowd that the FTC is supposedly trying to protect. How is that going to protect kids? And why isn't YouTube in any way culpable or responsible for trying to weed out those users that are lying about their age? Now, if it's an account owned by a parent and the parent allows their kid on, in my book, that should just be authorization by the parent. End of story. Whatever that kid views is under the purview of the responsibility of the parent. In the end, all of this should be the responsibility of the parent. Now, something else that YouTube could do, to address all of those non-authenticated users, everybody that watches YouTube but they're not logged in, make all unauthenticated viewing restricted mode. Boom, you're done. You're hitting every kid that doesn't have an account. Everybody. That would have been, oh my gosh, that would be so easy. This is Google, this is YouTube. If they can't program, if they can't program that in, they're idiots. I work in IT, I've been doing it for years. I'm not a programmer, but I'll guarantee you that is one of the easiest things that they could do. Make authentication required, if not, restricted mode. That's all you get. You just get kid-friendly stuff. And that would probably resolve a lot of the issues, because that is one of the biggest things in COPPA is you need to be able to identify or make the best effort to be able to identify the age of the viewers or users of your product. Making authentication would be one of those. Now, okay, let's say people are authenticating and they're creating accounts that are not appropriate, meaning they're not actually their age. That's a tough one. And supposedly the way that the FTC got around this to be able to fine YouTube is because YouTube knew that it's happening and they didn't take enough precautions or efforts to try to mitigate it. I think that's a little bit of an overreach, because this again goes back to parental responsibility. At what point do we say, parents, suck it up, step up, and take care of your stupid kids? They're not stupid. The parents are. We'll cut that in post. But seriously, take care of your kids. Watch your kids. Don't just hand them a phone. How about this? All of the phone manufacturers. Maybe you guys could step up and create kid profiles on the phone. It's an easy thing. Add a profile to a phone so that you can give your phone to your kid and they go into a kid profile where everything is limited. Easy enough. With the platforms that are there, they can, yes, it would take some work. I remember I had a Microsoft phone, a Windows phone. They had that. You could have multiple profiles on your phone. Apple, Google, step up. You guys put so much work and effort into being able to target your advertising, collecting all that information. And people are confused. How is it that they can track even if I'm not logged in? Every component within an electronic device has a unique serial number, from the Wi-Fi network card to the processors to everything that's in there. And so, especially on phones, it's very easy because we just give access to everything. They can track and create a profile for you, even if they don't necessarily know who you are. They can track that based off of what that processor serial number is or whatever, and they can create some sort of persona. So that way then they can give you personalized ads. And then when they sell those blocks of ads to advertisers, those are worth more because they can say, look, we know based off of this information that these people are a little bit more likely to be involved. And that brings me to my concern about advertisers. Why aren't they a little bit responsible for what's been going on? They're the ones that want this information. They're the ones that take advantage of it and pay. Why aren't they being held responsible in any way, shape, or form? I would like to see, personally, as a content creator, that YouTube would create some method of reporting that would show every single ad and the categorization of that ad that has played on my videos. I don't need to know who the user is, but I want to know what ads are playing, when, and on what videos. And I'd like to know what their intended audience is. Because we have to make all of these stipulations on our content, what our intentions are. But YouTube and the advertisers do not. And that doesn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense, since the people that are actually benefiting from this data, yes, content creators benefit to a certain degree. But so do all these advertisers, and so does YouTube. So I think transparency is well past due with YouTube. So what am I going to do with my channel going forward? There's a lot of folks that have been, claiming they're going to go to Vimeo or other platforms. So far, Vimeo is the most commonly, noted one. Just know with COPPA, every platform is responsible for following COPPA. Now, some of the biggest issue is the way that YouTube is addressing it. So other platforms might be a better fit because they're addressing it differently. But Vimeo, as far as I understand it, as a content creator, is at a bare minimum $7 a month to get 5 gigs per week of upload space. For my channel, it's not worth it. It's not worth it for me to spend any money just to be able to upload. That I spend enough time editing the videos, coming up with the ideas and all of that. I'm already losing money. I mean, this is just a hobby. I'm not paying $7 a month to go to Vimeo. Vimeo is not really intended as that content creator, just kind of ad hoc sort of environment. It's a little more for true filmmakers and artists and whatnot. And maybe Vimeo will step up and they'll change and add more options. I don't know. Dailymotion, I've looked at Dailymotion. I actually have an account with Dailymotion. I have a channel on there. I've played around with it. They supposedly have a monetization method there as well. It's the closest that I could find to a YouTube. But again, it still has to follow all the COPPA rules. Nobody's getting away from COPPA. So what we really need to do, there's going to be a link in the description below. Go leave a comment. Leave a comment on the FTC site. Let them know how this is going to affect you either as a viewer and the fact that subscribing to content, you're not going to see as much content, how it's going to affect content creators. There's going to be a lot of people that just aren't willing to take the risk of a potential maximum fine of $42,000 and some change per incident, meaning per video. Now that's the max. And reading through the information, it does say, the fine will be determined based off of the overall impact of the violation, how many kids are affected, that sort of stuff. But who knows? Every state has the ability to be able to come after you for COPPA violations. So it's not just the federal government. The COPPA stipulation actually gives permission to states to be able to come after you as well. I think New Jersey was one that had an incident where they took advantage of it. So if you live in a state where maybe they're a little heavy-handed with this stuff, they may come after you. Who knows? Nobody knows because everything is so vague. And it boils down to letting the FTC know that the kind of stipulations as to what constitutes a violation needs to be clarified. That part needs to be clarified. Now, I don't believe for 1 second that much of this COPPA stuff protects any kids. Because a lot of people have been talking, well, I'm just gonna count my content as not for kids, yada, yada, yada. And I'm just going to swear and okay, so that means that now a whole lot more content is going to be not kid friendly. But what happens to all those people that are like, well, you know, it's kind of family friendly or whatever, so I'm going to make it for kids. But it's not really. It's not a good way. So that's on YouTube because that's the way that they're deploying it. So contact the FTC, leave a comment, let them know that it's not working. It's not, without clarification on what constitutes the type of content that they are going to hit, it's not going to work. It's not going to protect any kids. And in fact, it's going to create, well, I don't know if I want to go there, but I do feel that this is, I'm hoping that the FTC will read some of these comments and we'll see. Last I saw, there was only 66,000 comments, which sounds like a lot, except when it's the entire world, 66,000 comments is not much. There's like 7 billion people in the world. There's 23 million channels. And if you're a channel, nobody's watching this except for a couple of people from my channel. But if somehow someone were to share this and see my video, it doesn't matter if you're a content creator or a viewer, this is going to affect you. Either the channels that you love that are video gamers, action figures, toys, collectibles, who knows? Based on the terminology, it could go all the way down to crafting people, people that are talking about food that might be kid-centric or food that is interesting to kids, or, you know, pranks, people that, who knows? It could be fully not intended for kids, but because kids watch it at this point, the vagueness would get them all. It's going to get them all. So go comment on the FTC. I'm not a big fan of these change.org petitions. I don't really think that petitions mean much, but the FTC is saying that they're going to listen and maybe make changes. The whole printout that they put out there is all a series of questions. Is this section in COPPA? Blah, blah, blah. Is this section in COPPA? Blah, blah, blah. They want some feedback. So we got to give some feedback. But I've already talked too much. What am I going to do with my channel? I'm probably going to take all of my action figure reviews and toy hunts, and I'm probably going to put them as at least in restricted. So that'll likely mean that you're not gonna see any of my action figure reviews or toy hunts in your notifications. I don't really care about the monetization because it's not even a drop in the bucket for me. So that part I don't care about. The action or the toy hunt. Oh crap! What is it? No, the This Week in Dioramas. What are we gonna do with that show? I think that content is pretty obvious that it is more of an art sort of content, that I'm going to keep that as not for kids in unrestricted. And I hope that isn't also falling in line. So I'm taking a bit of a risk. I'm hoping that if they do determine that you're in violation, that you'll get some warnings before you get fined. If they don't, I mean, my gosh, it feels like it's a police state. I get, people from around the world that don't have a constitution like ours that gives you free speech. They'll be like, well, yeah, this is pretty standard stuff. We see this from our government all the time. We don't see this in the United States as much. And this one is pretty huge because the government is literally threatening everybody in the world who creates content on this platform. It's pretty unprecedented. So that's what I'm going to do. The channel's going to continue. I'm not moving to any other platforms. I may try Dailymotion a little bit, but it's not worth it to put that much effort into other platforms. I'm going to wait and see. I am going to go likely in the next week or two, set all of my old videos especially the ones that I mentioned about action figures and stuff. I'm going to set them so those won't be really showing up much anymore. I don't do a lot of reviews, but this week in dioramas will continue. Hopefully you're not going to see me on the news. Local YouTuber in jail because he can't pay his FTC fines. Hopefully you won't see that. Hopefully you won't see that from anybody. Aside from the couple of content creators that maybe have it coming, but even then, I still don't believe in a whole hell of a lot of this COPPA stuff. I think it is chasing a problem that isn't there, and it's not chasing the root of the problem, which is way too common, especially with the government. So we'll see what happens. Go comment on the FTC, share the video out if you think that this was a good video. I don't know. There's a lot much better ones out there. Anthony Customs did a really good review of the whole situation. So, but yeah, we'll see. This week in Customs. Go check out Life with Brock if he's still doing his. I don't know. This week in dioramas will probably be Saturday. I think I might start moving those episodes to Saturdays. It's a little bit easier. So I will see you guys later. Hopefully I'll still be in my clothes and not jail orange.